This is a permanency review before final order hearing, and if I could have announcements, please.
Savannah Kincaid for the Children of Prison Ready.
Thank you. Okay, so Ms. Rich, if you'd like to proceed, and if we could dispense with Ms. Grant right off the bat, please.
Your Honor, we do have a proposed order to submit a bit of housekeeping on this because we did exclude a Jesus Perez Aquino that was living in Corpus Christi, but also pled in an unknown father. So I believe Judge Baker had kept the ad litem on for an unknown.
Okay. But you've eliminated the gentleman from Corpus.
Yes,
Okay.
Judge.
All right. So Ms. Grant, you can't leave.
That's okay, Judge. I always love to see you.
Well, me too. Thanks. So Ms. Rich, proceed, please.
Garrett will give that report for us, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Well, so I don't know how much information is known on this, but recently Sergio got back to Texas. He's in Texas currently. He's working a job. He sent me pay stubs for that. He's working a lot. I recently sent in 2054s, and so we're getting him some services set up here in Texas as opposed to Florida where he was previously. He still needs to go and do drug testing every month, as well as start counseling. As far as Grace goes, she needs to do rational behavior training. She needs to continue her counseling, and she also needs to continue to work on housing stability.
Okay. How about some positive things? You want
Yeah.
to make them sound good?
Yes, I apologize. They did start doing in-person visits last week. I'm going to continue to get those set up for them. They both made it. It was a pretty good visit. They both interacted really well with the kids. We did recently do a screening for Gail on autism, and he got diagnosed as level 2.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions?
I do, Your Honor.
I do yes. We all do.
Okay. Well, how about we just start? Ms. Riley, you go ahead.
Sure. So it seems like from what I've read, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a change in goals.
Yes, I apologize. There was.
Can you tell us what the change was?
Yes, we changed from reunification being the primary goal and the concurrent goal being related adoption to unrelated adoption concurrent with reunification as the secondary goal.
Okay, and is there a reason for that switch?
Yes, I think there was some concerns at the time that we were not making any headway as far as housing stability and as far as getting services done was going.
Okay, so let's talk about that as far as Grace is concerned. What services was she ordered to do?
Yes, she was ordered to do psychosocial. She was ordered to do rational behavior training. She was ordered to do parenting. She was ordered to do counseling.
Okay, and so she did the psychosocial, right?
Yes.
And she is in counseling, correct?
She has attended some counseling.
Okay, and she did the parenting class, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and rational behavior therapy, where are we at with that?
So, rather recently, we did get her set up with it. Initially, the one that she registered for was not the correct class. She is registered for the correct class. I think it's April is the next time she can get in and do it.
Okay, and so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like the RBT part of this wasn't really on her, that she wasn't doing it. There was some miscommunications with the old, not you, but with the old caseworker that kind of set her up with the wrong class. Is that right?
I am not aware exactly of what went down on that front.
Okay, but it wasn't, I mean, she was trying to enroll in something. It's just she didn't enroll in the right
As
thing.
of right now, in the past few weeks, she's been trying that I know of.
Okay, but, and I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear, but you said that the first thing she signed up for was wrong, right? When did she sign up for that first thing that was wrong?
Yes. I'm under impression that was back last November.
Right. So what I'm saying is she tried as far as last November, it just, for some reason, something happened and she wasn't given the right information to enroll in RBT, correct?
I would assume so.
Okay. And so I'm a little bit, and so with housing, what's the issue with the housing?
So she's been in a couple different places in the time that I have had this case. I know
Right?
initially, she was having issues with her apartment, so she was staying in a motel for a little bit. Now she's in a 1 bedroom that she kind of just got in, I think about a month and a half ago. And so I think the big concern is just her keeping the same, same housing, same apartment, not having any issues with that long term.
Right. And obviously agreed that's a concern, but what I can tell is housing, and then she needs to complete counseling, and then the RBT that was kind of not really all on her are the only things she hasn't done. Is that right?
Yes, and we would like to see some pay stubs at some point,
Okay.
verifying she's working.
Okay, but so, and you believe that that warrants changing the goal to adoption by a non-kinship adoption?
I staffed it with my director, Stacy, and for her, it warranted the change.
Okay, pass the witness.
Let's see, Miss Graff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Niemeyer, can you please help explain why you indicated that my client needs to do drug testing every month when drugs have never been an issue for him? There's never been an allegation. My client has put on the record in several of the previous hearings that he does not use drugs. He's never used drugs. He does not even drink alcohol. So what is the basis for requiring him to now do drug testing?
Yes, I do apologize. It's initially on his service plan. Per my supervisor, it has to remain on there until I get permission to take it off as a requirement.
Have
How
you
about that?
found out?
How about that? We'll take it off.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Okay.
it is ordered
Your
off.
Honor.
Your Honor, can I speak to my lawyer? Because something that he said is not like concurrent. Can I please speak to my lawyer?
Grace,
Well,
we're in the middle of a hearing right now.
yeah,
Okay.
you have to wait just a little bit and listen to the
Okay.
rest. Write down what you want to talk about, and we'll get back to it, and you can talk to her. Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Niemeyer, have you been down to visit Mr. Amaya in his house in Friona?
I have not yet.
Your Honor, I have been down to visit Mr. Amaya in his house in Friona, and I have a plan to go down there again on Monday to see him again. It is a very clean, neat house. He lives
Judge, I'm
by
going to
himself.
object to the attorney testifying. I don't believe that's appropriate, Judge. I mean, I'm
I
sorry,
just am
but
very frustrated. I'm very frustrated, Your Honor, because I let Mr. Niemeyer know a month ago that I went down to visit him, and he said he was going to go down and visit him, and he has not yet done so. My client has been in Texas since the beginning of February, and no one has been down to visit him yet.
Thank you. Do you
Thank
have any
you. I have
other?
no further questions. No.
Thank you. Hold on. Let me. And I hate it when I'm. Miss Kincaid, your turn.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
Where is Sergio placed? Sergio Jr., sorry. Or is he in a foster home in the Houston area?
I apologize. Can you say that one more time?
Where is Sergio Jr. placed?
Yes, he is in a foster home with in Houston.
Okay. And is he how is he doing in that placement?
He's been doing better for placement. He's been starting to talk a little bit. They're in the process of working on potty training. He is currently in pre-K.
Okay. And what services is he receiving so far as therapies?
Yeah, he's doing his main one's speech therapy right now and play therapy.
Okay. And is he on some psychotropic medications?
I do apologize. Let me double check just to be sure. Not
Is he on clonidine?
yes.
And recently a new medication called Focalin?
Yes.
Okay. And is he on any other medications?
No, ma'am. He is
Okay.
not.
And are those medications being monitored by a psychiatrist every 30 days?
Yes.
Okay. Now at school he is he's attending school, is that correct?
Yes.
And he has been put in special education, is that correct?
Yes.
And he's getting speech and occupational therapy at school, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now with visits with Sergio, so far as the parents are concerned, it has to be via Zoom because he's so far away, is that right?
Yes.
But are the visits consistent, inconsistent? What are those like?
It's been a bit of a mix on the virtual. Last week, Grace made her visit. Sergio didn't. I know before I took this case, it was kind of the same way, where it's like sometimes we'd make the virtual with Sergio, sometimes we wouldn't.
Okay, do you think it would be helpful for Sergio if those visits were um, consistently attended and probably on a regular schedule just for Sergio's sake?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Now concerning Adiel and Gael, where are they placed?
Yes, they are placed in a foster home in Amarillo.
Okay, and how are they doing in their placement?
They've been doing pretty well. They look healthy. Gail has, of course, a new diagnosis of the autism, but they've been doing good in placement, and I've heard no complaints as far as their preschool's been going.
Okay, now Gael he's got both Adiel and Gael have some medical issues. So far as Gael, I hear that they're looking at doing a tonsillectomy on him. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and they believe that that's going to help him with some of the issues that he has with swallowing, as well as sleep and speech.
Correct.
Okay, and what kind of therapies is he in currently?
I do apologize. I don't know off the top of my head on him.
Okay, is he in speech, play therapy, feeding, and occupational therapy?
Yes, that sounds correct.
Okay, and how about visits with the parents so far as Gael and Adiel are concerned? Are those in person? Are they virtual? How's that?
So they were virtual. We did more recently start in person. We're going to try to get those set up regularly through one of our FSWs. The first in-person one we did set up, they did both attend and were both on time. That went well. Virtual ones I know have been a little harder, just because Gail and Adiel can have a little trouble focusing on the computer screen. I know there was an incident of Gail putting a layer of blocks in front of the computer screen because he just didn't want to look at it.
Okay. And are those virtual visits, are they consistently attended by the parents, or have there been some misses?
I know there have been some misses in the past, but as far as the last month or so goes, it's been pretty consistent with
Okay.
the making.
And then going back to Adiel just briefly, is he also seeing a doctor for some of the issues that he's having?
Correct.
Okay, and he is currently being consulted by an ENT on potentially getting some tubes in his ears.
Yes.
And he did graduate from physical therapy, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other are either of these kids on psychotropic medications?
No.
Okay. Are they on any other kind of prescription medications that the court should be aware of?
As of right now, no.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Rich, anything else of this witness?
Judge, could I ask one question?
Sure.
Mr. Niedermeyer, has there been any effort since May of 2025 to move Sergio closer to Amarillo with his siblings?
As far as I've had the case, there has not been.
Does he see his siblings?
On the virtual, in person, he has not.
And since May of 2025, when the case began, I know he had medical services in May and June, but there's been no update of any doctor's appointments or anything in the case report that I see since that time. Do you know if anything has occurred that's just not documented in the report?
I am in the process of looking into that. I'm waiting on some documentation from his placement so that I can get dates and update.
And one last question. He's not had any therapy since this case began in May of 2025, according to the report. Is that correct?
I am under impression he has been having therapy.
So there's a lot of updating needed to the report regarding Sergio and we've had this case almost 12 months, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Pass the witness, Judge.
And Judge, if you don't mind, I just have a few quick follow-ups.
Sure.
Mr. Niemeyer, was there an issue that took place at a visit with Sergio and the children where he had an unauthorized person at the visit?
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Okay, and so did that happen one time or more than one time?
One time that I was told about it, that he brought the person on virtually that I'm aware of.
Okay, and so he actually brought the person on and was allowing them to speak to the children, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that person is actually related to my client, Miss Amaya, correct?
Yes.
And is someone that she does not want her children to be in contact with, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so is Mr. Amaya living with Grace's sister, or are they just, do you know the relationship there?
I am not 100% sure what the relationship there is. I know.
Judge, objection. That would call for speculation.
Well, I'll rephrase, Judge, and so that it doesn't.
Thank you.
Have you asked Mr. Amaya what his relationship is with the sister?
Yes.
And what has he told you?
Judge, objection. Any response would be hearsay.
Well, he's a party, Judge.
Mr. Amaya's on here and can refute it. Go ahead, you can ask.
Yes. Per my conversation with him, the relation to Miss Grace is just helping Sergio out with getting
Grace is my
done.
Grace is my client. So who are you talking about?
Yes, the relation to her that was present at his visit.
Okay, so Grace's sister, according to Mr. Amaya, they're just friends.
Yes.
And she's helping him.
Yes. Per my conversation with him.
Okay. Has my client missed any visits?
Not in the time I've had this case.
Okay. And she said in-person visits only with the two kids that are closer, is that right?
Yes. I am in the process of setting her up an in-person visit for Sergio Jr.
Okay, and hasn't that been set up and then fallen through a couple of times now already?
Yes. Correct.
All right. And when I say fallen through, it's not Grace that had an issue, it's the department that had an issue and had to cancel on her. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So she's been waiting to go see Sergio in person and for some reason the department has canceled her appointments or had to reschedule them, correct?
Yeah, I'm not aware exactly what the reasoning was behind it, but yes.
Okay, because, okay, so it could have been the foster family, you're just not sure.
Yeah.
All right, but Grace has indicated to you that she wants to see Sergio, correct?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And then, pass the witness. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions of Mr. Niedermeyer?
Judge, I have one more. My apologies.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Niedermeyer, based on the questions you've been asked today and the testimony you've provided specifically in regard to Sergio, are you still asking for a finding today from the judge that the department is making reasonable efforts to reunify?
Yes.
And so what efforts are you making to reunify Sergio?
We are, I'm sorry, efforts for Sergio Jr. or efforts for Sergio Sr.?
Sergio Jr. to be reunified with any biological parent.
Yes. So we have been still, again, we've been keeping up with the virtual visits. We have been in discussions with Sergio Sr. about what would be needed for Sergio Jr. to come home to him as
And
far as some of the higher needs.
And over 12 months period, that's the sum total efforts as to Sergio Jr. to reunify?
As far as I'm aware, that is what we've been doing.
So, Your Honor, based on, in light of the testimony today, I would be asking for a finding today that St. Francis is not making reasonable efforts to reunify Sergio Jr. and that they be ordered to immediately engage in looking for a home closer to siblings, in-person sibling visits, and allowing the mother to begin in-person visitation. And I know it's not really my dog in the fight, so to speak, Your Honor, but it does concern me, especially with an unknown father, that if the efforts are not being made for Sergio Jr. as to a located father, that there may be an unknown father that is needing the same effort put forth that's not being received.
And Judge, for what it's worth, Ms. Grant just kind of beat me to the punch there, because I think it was apparent that I'm headed in that same direction. We believe that there's not reasonable efforts being made, that the change in goals seems to be, completely inappropriate in line of the fact that, and I don't want to speak to, but Mr. Maya, it took him, had to move to Texas, but was doing services in Florida, I believe, before. Miss Amaya my client has been doing virtually everything that she's been asked to do except RBT, which was not her fault to get rescheduled. And then housing, which she is struggling with housing, Judge, because she is having difficulties finding a full-time job and that can support her and the kids, et cetera. And she does need help with that. But at this point in time, Judge, she's been doing everything possible to see her kids, showing up to all of her visits, doing all of the things that have been asked to. And it seems inappropriate that the answers to she doesn't even know what's happening with her child. She doesn't know if he's in therapy. She doesn't know what medical treatment he's getting. She knows the recent, diagnosis of one of the younger kids, but I think we learned more from Miss Kincaid's testimony than we have from the updated reports.
Thank you.
Judge,
Not that
I'm
she was
sorry,
testified.
my screen was frozen for a moment. If
Probably needs to be.
the wind is not my friend today with the internet or something. If I would like to make a motion that we have a settlement conference on this before final, but also if I could pose a few questions to Mr. Niedermeyer about the level of services for Sergio Jr. due to his condition.
Yes, you may.
Garrett, can you tell us a little bit about Sergio Jr.'s autism and the level of care that is needed for him?
Yes. So he's on one of our higher level of cares. He's had some issues in the past with eloping. He does have a lot of little outbursts,
Objection.
tantrums.
Objection, Your Honor. May I take the witness on voir dire?
Yes.
Mr. Niedermeyer, did you testify just a few minutes ago that your report is not up to date because you are awaiting information from placement regarding medical issues with Sergio Jr.?
I am waiting on more recent medical documentation from them.
So to be clear, what is the date of the documentation that your testimony is based on right now?
My
Judge,
testimony,
objection. This has been a condition since the beginning of the case. In fact, while the child was brought into care,
Your Honor,
for
I'm just trying to establish hearsay and whether or not Mr. Niedermeyer has personal knowledge or if Ms. Rich would need to call placement who's here in the hearing today as a witness, so it's not hearsay.
That's fine. You can go ahead and answer the question as to the date of your most recent information.
so on the medical side, I am going based off of the documentation from May. I'm also going off of my conversations with placement.
So you haven't had anything since May of 25?
That's my understanding, Your Honor, which is my reason for the voir dire.
You
So-
can continue.
Okay, so Mr. Niedermeyer, you don't have any personal knowledge other than the original medical information in the original service plan from the intake of this case. Is that correct?
I also have my knowledge from talking with placement.
Okay, and placement is not intervened in this case and they are not pled in as a party. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Your Honor, I would go ahead and enter an objection as to hearsay and ask that this witness not be allowed to answer any questions outside of his personal knowledge of the original medical information from May of 2025, almost 12 months ago, 10 months ago.
So is the placement on here?
They are
Yes. Yes, Judge.
Okay, well, I would rather hear from the placement anyway, so that's your request is granted.
Thank you, Judge.
So, Ms. Rich, do you have any other questions of Mr. Niedermeyer?
just a few, Your Honor. Could we go back to the topic about mother's housing, Garrett, just to clarify? Her current housing is what? You're on mute, sorry.
Right, apologies. She's currently in a 1-bedroom apartment at the moment.
And
She-
prior to that, go ahead.
Prior to that, she was in a motel.
And you are awaiting proof of employment or pay stubs for her?
Yes, ma'am.
You've seen father's pay stubs and you've received those, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have right now, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I do have one more question from Mr. Niedermeyer.
Okay.
Mr. Niedermeyer, are you aware that Mr. Maya has obtained furniture beds for the children and he's been asking for in-person visits with his children? Is that true?
Yes, I have been informed of this. I have not seen his furniture or anything like that yet, but I have been informed of this.
And are you, will you tell the court whether it's true that he's been asking for in-person visits with his children since he arrived here?
Yes, ma'am, he has.
And what have you done to make those in-person visits possible?
I personally watched one of them, as we did not have an FSW at the time. I set up one for him.
Set up one, what, a virtual visit or an in-person visit?
An in-person visit, ma'am.
What about Sergio Jr.? Have you tried to set up any in-person visits with him and his father?
I have not yet, ma'am.
And what is the reason for that?
It is currently beyond my knowledge on how to set up for Houston, and so I am waiting on instruction from my supervisor on how to facilitate that.
And you would want the court to find that that's a reasonable effort today to just be, you've been asked for over a month for in-person visits, and you have not gotten any information, but you want the court to now find reasonable efforts on your part for the parents to have this in-person visits with their children.
Correct.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions of Mr. Niedermeyer?
I apologize. I thought of one more.
Go ahead, Ms. Grant.
Mr. Niedermeyer, when did you get appointed this case?
Yes. I have to go back on the exact date, but it was like mid-January.
Okay, so you're fairly new on the case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you fairly new to St. Francis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so would it, in fairness to you, it sounds like maybe you're lacking any documentation to adequately review the record and provide some of the answers here today. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's fair to say that, would it be fair to say that the documentation in this case is extremely lacking prior to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you. Any other witnesses? Ms. Rich? I think she's frozen on us.
I think so too.
Oh, there she goes. She's moving.
I'm not sure, Your Honor, that she heard you call her. I think she was frozen when you called her.
So Rachel, I guess she can call in and just appear by phone if she's having so much trouble with the wind.
Okay, Judge, I'll see if I can get a hold of her.
Okay, thanks.
Judge, it looks like she's not frozen anymore.
Ms.
I'm
Rich? Okay, you sure? No, you froze again.
Zoom and the internet have been very difficult today.
It's the plot of West Texas.
That would really be complicated.
However, as I look at the updates for Sergio Jr., I see a medication update, January 26th. Just wanted to make sure council had received this through the e-file and it was available to them.
Are you talking about the February permanency report? Ms. Rich, you had froze.
Yes, yes. There are updates for Sergio Jr. medication updates listed for January 26th, just for example.
Yeah, I hesitated to rely heavily on that report because it's titled a permanency report, but the footer is titled a status report. So I assumed copy and paste error. I don't mean, I'm not nitpicking, but I just wanted to be certain.
It also appears from that report that the information on Sergio is all dated back to 2025. There's nothing new, and I'm looking at page 7 with the incorrect footer. I did indicate to Mr. Niedermeyer that there were numerous errors in this report, but I didn't see a corrected report that was filed.
Okay, on page 8, section 4, medication, for example, medication reviews listed for January 26, February 26.
And Your Honor, at this point, I would just object to argumentative and request that if we're going to go into updates, he's already testified. It's hearsay number 1. He's testified by his own mouth that the documentation is lacking. And I think there's a better witness in the room to supply the information to the court. being the placement.
Right. I'll tell you what I'm gonna suggest, and y'all can tell me if I'm right on this or not, but I think you have a new caseworker. And obviously, I'm not a fan of this whole wonderful new system anyway. I was the first in the state to have to engage. So I obviously am not a fan of having to deal with this process. But I think what we should do is we can probably set a hearing. Y'all meet, there's probably an April date. I think a lot of this needs to be cleared up by this caseworker. A lot of the things that y'all have requested, I'd like for him to come back and basically address those things with the knowledge that a caseworker should walk in with. Does anybody have a problem with that?
No, Judge.
No, Judge, I would just request a recess at this time and a reset of this permanency hearing for a continuation so that we can go deeper into the reunification and give this new caseworker an opportunity to represent his case in his own work.
Well, and it sounds like he needs to, yeah, go out and to Friona, do a few things like that. So I think you've got some issues here that you're too close to the end of this case to not at least have him get up to date on it before you either extend it or have a final. So does anybody have an objection to that?
No.
Judge, we don't have an objection, but we just, in the meantime, and I think that Your Honor would agree, but in the meantime, want them to push forward, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
to get us going somewhere. We need
Right.
in-person visits with Sergio. We need an effort to get Sergio closer, more frequent in-person visits with the other two kids. Like they're just,
Well, yeah, and I agree with you. This is going to go ahead and be the statutory hearing today. And they're on the very, very edge of not making reasonable efforts, which is not a good place for St. Francis to be in this case, believe me. So they're going to come back next month and they're going to justify and clean up this mess and have it ready for either a final or an extension and let Judge Baker jump up and down.
And Your Honor, since this is the statutory hearing today,
Right.
could I formally request that St. Francis be ordered not to proceed on a goal change or an adoption? Put their effort, I guess my point is, Judge, I want their efforts to be towards reunification before we come back here, not concurrently working on an adoption when we may not be ready to do that.
well, yeah, especially because adoption is now their first goal. So I would hate to see
Right.
them come back with a lot of evidence proving that they've met, because they flipped the goals and now adoption
Yes.
is their primary goal. And so I agree with Ms. Grant. We don't want them to come back and say, here's all the things we've done to facilitate adoption, which would meet their burden. But I mean, I think we all agree that's not appropriate at this point in time for that switch to have even been made.
Well, they
And
can they can voluntarily today make that here, or they can be found to have made no reasonable efforts towards that goal. So we'll let the supervisor speak up here. Which way do you want to go on that?
We can do that. Sorry.
I bet you can.
Yeah, we can do that. We will get everything that y'all need.
Okay, so the goal goes back to the original today. And then with that goal staying like it is, then I will not have a finding of reasonable efforts not being made. Is that the agreement? Yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge.
I would
Okay.
agree.
Okay, is that the attorneys for the parents and the attorney ad litem? Is that satisfactory to you today?
It
Today,
is,
yes,
Your
Judge.
Honor.
Yes, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Because yeah, I don't want to penalize Mr. Niedermeyer and because we all know what a finding of no reasonable efforts does on a read from the feds. So I don't want to do that. I want to give them the opportunity to clean this up. Okay. All right, so now that we've agreed to that status, is there anything else today that y'all need to address before you come back with
Your
Mr. Niedermeyer up to date? Yes.
This is Casa, and I was just if Mr. Amaya could answer my phone call. I don't know if maybe he doesn't answer unknown numbers, or I've tried, or maybe I have an incorrect number. And I know the advocate doesn't speak Spanish, so I went ahead and called him, but I'm not getting an answer.
Okay, so Mr. Amaya, if the interpreter will let y'all go into a room when we get through here and you can visit with him. How about that?
Great, thank you.
Okay, you're very
And
welcome.
Ms. Herrera, if you would like to visit him in person, I'm going to be down there on Monday at 1 p.m. If you'd like to come and meet him when I'm there, I would be happy to have you come and visit. And if you want to just send me an email, and I can give you the information, his address, and anything else you might need, I'd be happy to help you with that.
That would be great. Perfect. Yes.
Okay, so y'all will
you.
take care
Yeah.
of that.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so what we're going to do today is this is the statutory hearing that's required to be held. We're going to have another hearing next month. When is that date, Rachel, that you meet for Palmer?
Judge, it's gonna be April the 8th at 9.
Okay, so that'll be April the 8th. Does that work for everybody's calendar?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and that will basically, okay, that'll be a hearing. Okay. And in summation, basically, and I'm going to tell you what I think, and if there's if we need to clarify this a little bit, please step in. It's my understanding that Sergio Jr.'s nobody has seen any actual efforts to try to get this child moved back to the Panhandle in some form, whether it be Lubbock, Amarillo, or Wichita Falls, anything, leaving this child in Houston, the armpit of Texas. So I want to see what efforts are being made by St. Francis as far as that's concerned. That needs to be brought. The other children, I want the in-person visitations going up and running. Caseworker or supervisor, whoever needs to go to the Mr. Amaya's home. What else do you have on your list of attorneys? That
Judge,
adequate?
since this is a new caseworker, could I request also an update of the diligent searches for an unknown father on their end?
Yes. Yes, and you understand what that is, Mr. Niedermeyer, a diligent search for unknown dads?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Has anybody even sent the documentation to Austin to see if there's a registered father on that child?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Paternity search. Okay. All right. Anything else, Miss Graff? Anything else in that list that you'd like to see at the April meeting, hearing?
Your Honor, I remember hearing Mr. Niedermeyer say that there was only 2 things that my client needed to do, and that was drug testing and counseling. Your Honor indicated that the drug testing would not be needed and that would be taken off the list. So counseling, I believe, is the only thing. So I just want to make sure that whatever counseling is going to happen, that works around his work schedule, because he is trying to set aside as much as he can to provide for his children and make it possible for them to return home. So if with that last service still being done, I want to make sure that he can actually accomplish it.
I think Mr. Niedermeyer's you understand that, and Okay, and the drug testing is to be removed. Unless there is some sign that he is on drugs, but at this point in time, that is not a random thing that the St. Francis has the right to do.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. And then, let's see, Miss Riley, anything else from you?
No, Judge, as long as we have RBT actually set up now, and then just that, I think there is an in-person visit scheduled, even though Sergio is still in Houston, and we would just I think Grace would very much like to see that actually happens.
Okay, so in person for all children. Well, Houston is, we all know how that is.
Right.
But I
But
want
think there is,
to see what the efforts are to get this child back in
Sure.
this region. Okay, which
But
is
Grace-
required by law. Okay. Anything else?
no, Your Honor.
Okay, and then Miss Kincaid, anything from you as the ad litem?
No, Your Honor, I did not actually receive the report. If it was filed, I didn't get it. But I did receive one via email. I've talked with the placements. The children are doing fairly well. There's a lot of interventions that are going on, a lot of therapies that all of the children are engaged in. With Sergio, the one thing I would, request is he does really need consistency and schedules. And so if there's anything that could be helpful for the parents and educating them on the things that help Sergio do his very best when it comes to school and just keeping his schedule, I hope that we can keep them in the loop on that. But I feel like maybe when we come back next month, we'll all know a little bit more.
I think that, yeah, and Alan, let me remind, and I know Mr. Niedermeyer, you're new, if this one child is going to have a tonsillectomy, the parents have the right to be there. They are to be informed and kept in that loop as to everything that's happening medically to these children. Okay,
Yes, sir.
is that set anytime soon?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
They're waiting, Your Honor, they're waiting on the results of a sleep study that he had to do. And so they're deciding, the ENT is going to kind of make the recommendation based on the results of the sleep study as to when and how to go about that.
okay, well, the mother can attend any medical appointments that she's available to go to, so they need to remember to do that. Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything today? I know you wanted to have a meeting, Miss Rich, or a mediation or something. I think let's see what happens when y'all come back here in April, and if this has gotten sort of cleaned up with the new caseworker and everything. And then y'all can look if you're going to extend or mediate or whatever. Is that okay with you?
Yes, Judge, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, this looks like it's sort of turned into a mess. Looks like you had a caseworker issue and Mr. Niedermeyer has jumped into the middle of a fire. So thank you for not running scared. You'll be fine. These women are just being good attorneys. So I'm going to go ahead and find at this point in time, not promising that it'll happen in April, that the department has made reasonable efforts because they have made these agreements today to get this moving. So this hearing will be the statutory hearing. There'll be the hearing on April the 8th. This is still set for a final on May 13th. I'd be very surprised to see that happen, but y'all will discuss that in April with Judge Baker. Does anybody else have anything today? Let me remind the parents that you are required by law to continue to work your services. And I am required to tell you, if you fall off that wagon and you don't work these services that you've been ordered to do by the court, that your rights to these children could be restricted or terminated. It would be allowed to be considered in that ground of terminating your parental rights. Does anybody else have anything today? All right. Thank y'all very much. Good luck. And I have Mr. Niedermeyer, hang in there. You'll get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Amber Rich, Regional Attorney representing the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, present and ready with Mitchell Corona, specialist from St. Francis Ministries. Oh, there. And Shanika White, also from St. Francis Ministries.
Thank you.
Belinda Ebling, attorney ad litem.
Thank you.
Ina Ricker and Bailey Knowles Cervantes here on the Moratoya case.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Then Ms. Rich.
Our permanency specialist will provide that report, Your Honor.
You'll be fine. Thank you.
Hello, Your Honor. Yes, ma'am. Naya's actually doing very well right now. She's currently placed with Bailey and Jared Cervantes here in Lubbock, Texas. She's very acclimated to the placement. It's obvious that she's very comfortable. She's accustomed to that being home. She did finish that volleyball season. I know last time we spoke, she was talking about getting back into soccer as well. Overall, she's very happy. She did celebrate her birthday on January 6th, knowing that my birthday is January 5th. So I was glad to hear that she enjoyed her Capricorn birthday. She did get some self-care for Christmas and her birthday from us. And she showed me her vanity. She does have quite a bit of self-care stuff. She mentioned no concerns to me. At this time, she's doing very well in school. When I speak to Miss Bailey about her, she has nothing but good things to report for her. But yes, ma'am, she's current on medical and dental, and right now there are no concerns with that.
I noticed in looking at the notes that there's a huge immigration issue. You have anything to report on that?
I do. I do know that they're working on getting a date ready so that they'll be able to get the application pushed through.
Okay.
I do have an update on that, Your Honor.
Okay.
Her priority is arriving. It was posted or announced, whatever that correct terminology is, which means she is eligible to apply for her green card. So that application is being prepared for reference. At least last year's reference, that process took 3 to 4 months. So we don't quite know what to anticipate this year, but she has made it one step closer at least.
Good. So nobody's beating down the door trying to take her out of the country then?
No, Your
Okay.
Honor.
All right. And then the attorney ad litem, if you'd like to make a report, please.
Your Honor, I don't have any concerns. I was able to see her on Zoom yesterday and talk to Ms. Cervantes. And Mr. Cervantes can update us if you would like on what they have done so far in terms of finding out about the priority date and starting the steps that they need to personally do. But no concerns at all. That Naya's been there for several years now, and this is home.
Good. That's what it looks like. Then if I could have that report from the placement then.
Yeah. So she's doing great. She's 10 years old now. She's very happy in school, got her little crush that she tells me about every day. She just finished up her volleyball season that she absolutely loved, and she's very good at it. She started soccer, which she's not as naturally good at, so it frustrates her a little bit. But she's got a really great team. She's loving that. She was super excited to hear about her priority date because this has been the biggest move that we've had in her case in the last 4 years. And she's super excited about that. She's already talked about getting her nails done for her adoption, and she wants to get shirts, and so it's just a really exciting time for her.
Wonderful.
Oh, and also, sorry, we took her for her immigration physical February 25th. So we're waiting to be able to pick up the paperwork from that to send to her immigration specialist, who will mail everything off with the application.
That was my next question. You do have a specific contact person?
Yes.
Wonderful. And that person's very cooperative and helpful to you? Oh, that's
yes, she's been
nice.
great.
Wonderful. Okay. Does anybody have any questions of the placement? Okay, well, this looks like things are going very well. I'm so happy to hear that. And I know that Judge Baker will be too. Looks like y'all been in this case a long time. So, the next permanency hearing for this case is set for August the 12th at 9. I doubt very seriously that you would have an adoption done by then, but it would be nice if you could do that, but we'll see what happens with that. Does anybody else have anything today concerning this case? If you do, wave at me, whistle at me, do whatever. Okay. All right, then we'll go off the record as to this case. Thank you.